So I mentioned previously, but today I don't really have the time to do a 3 game block since I've got some other stuff going on tonight. And I mentioned that I might try to do different build slash routing plans. But instead, I thought it might be interesting to instead make sort of a checkpoint when it comes to where each element of my gameplay is currently, and also kind of where it was before I started getting more serious about the game. Um, I think it's good just both because I find it interesting, but also because I think it will help me keep track of how much I've actually been improving. So I might try to do this as a weekly thing, just because I expect to be short on time Wednesday nights in general. Um, yeah, so to explain what all these are, basically at some point I was trying to think of what the fundamentals of the game were. Um, as part of an effort to figure out what I could use as learning objectives. And each of these is one of those things that I thought of. So, looting and routing is a pretty fundamental part of the game. Food as well, just making food, knowing where food is, using food, that type of stuff. Inventory management is kind of its own thing, right? Deciding what you're going to get rid of, deciding what you're going to set down really quick while you craft something, and then pick it back up afterwards. Other little tricks could be put in here too. Contesting objectives, which is basically just my way of saying keeping people from getting things like Tree of Life or meteors, but more realistically, just making sure someone doesn't get Wicklin for nothing. I think is the main thing that goes under here. Just vision in general, so like use of consoles and surveillance cameras, that type of stuff. Map awareness, which is just being aware of where people are, kind of coupled with vision, but just looking at pings as well, looking at where everyone is at the start of each day. Trap crafting, which I'm actually gonna move this down. I feel like it's one of the lower priority things. A lot of games end before Final Zone, and I feel like that's where traps shine most right now. I could end up deciding I'm mistaken about that, and actually traps are much more relevant earlier, but that's my current outlook on traps. Farming, which is just hunting monsters. Mostly it's useful for RNG items and increasing weapon mastery. Skill shot accuracy. I'm not sure if I want to change this to something else, but for now that's what it is. So that's kind of everything. When it comes to looting and routing, so actually before I get into that, so I decided to also make a checkpoint for when I ended more casually playing this game. So where I was when I was playing on and off a bit without really reviewing games, without making my own build, stuff like that. And then just since then, I did some bot practice to test out the pathing for the build that I started with. Like I ran that a number of times, just to see kind of like when I could expect to finish that, and pretty consistently against bots anyways, I would finish build before the end of day one. And then after that is when I started actually doing the blocks and recording things and stuff like that. But yeah, so by the time I was finishing up with casual play, when it comes to looting and routing, I was only copying builds. Yeah, so I wasn't really planning anything on my own. I would just look up stuff or, look at random shared saved plans in the game. That's kind of it. Um, you know, bad at adapting paths, which actually I'll say almost unable to adapt paths. Unable to adapt paths from memory. I think that might be a better way to put this, because it's really easy to just click on something in game and see where it is on the map. Memory. Any other tech I was doing? At least not that I remember. Probably can move on from here. Food. Making sure to grab lighters, but unsure of what to build with them. Other than hot rocks and hot oil. And then just cooking meat mostly. Yeah, as far as food goes, I remember I looked at one of Scaz's thing about food, and he definitely explained a lot more than I ended up using. But the main thing is that I knew that lighters could be good, and I eventually learned, lighter plus rock equals hot rock, and rock plus oil equals hot oil. And I knew that I can make like steak and fried chicken from that, basically. And I I think I knew about orchids. But thought orchids plus alcohol was for HP potion. Yeah, so at some point I thought it was alcohol that you used for orchids to get HP potions, and I wasn't sure what it actually was. At some point in the game, I got alcohol and I had orchids done, and I was like, wait, why can't I build anything? And I never actually found out what it was that I needed to build. Let's see. Didn't know any SP item recipes. This wasn't as big of an issue for me because I think partly because my routing was not super efficient, but also I think the builds I was using tended to have SP regen, so I just didn't really need SP items. Actually, I'm gonna format this a little bit. Yeah, let's see. Only made food that happened to work from inventory items. Would just pick up a lot of food looking stuff to compensate. Yeah, so when I first started, and before I really started getting into things, I would just pick up literally anything that looked like it could be used for food recipes, and then just hope that at some point I've picked up two things that would turn into something good. The only thing I really knew about was oil plus meat, and hot rock plus meat being stuff. Although I'm not 100% on hot rock plus heat, or plus meat, I mean. I think that's steak. I can look to see about steak. I think school has lighters. Yeah, okay, yeah. Hot rock plus meat is steak. Yeah. So I ended up making lots of steaks, which in hindsight is actually pretty bad food. Yeah, that's kind of the state of my food situation. Inventory management. I don't think there's a whole lot to say here. I don't know. Yeah, just no comment. I don't know. No comment. Pretty basic stuff. Could drop and pick up stuff. Inventory often cluttered due to food components. Yeah, I might need to refine what this actually means. Because there's some element of just being able to pick up stuff, throw stuff away, swap things out. But I think I want this to be more about making decisions that affect the inventory, if that makes sense. Discussing objectives. I did not know when quick spawned, so that made it hard and made it completely up to luck. Had some idea of when tree spawns. Where's random, basically. Let's see. So then when it comes to vision, let's see. I knew oculars plus camera equals telescopic camera. I took consoles. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else to say with that. Did not know what triggered seeing everyone on the map. Yeah, when I first started, I knew that at some points you could just see everyone on the map, but I didn't know that it was at the beginning of each day. Let's see, farming. I'm not sure how to measure this, so I'm just gonna say not sure how to measure. Kinda just doing when convenient. Pivot items. Always had to target in craft menu to find components. I'm just skipping this because I'm focused on it. And same for trap crafting. Okay, so looting slash routing. Well, I've made some of my own builds now. Have some knowledge of what is fast slash slow. Beginning to understand importance of routing dogs, bears, wolves into leather requiring routes. Actually, okay, I had another point I was gonna put here, but I think it belongs more in like pivot items and food respectively. So I'm just gonna do stuff there. Food. No. Some recipes for good food by memory. Also, our components are, e.g., chocolates in uptown / dock. Coffee plus milk plus bread. Yeah, so yeah, unlike before when I would just pick up random food all the time, actually, I'm gonna add food is part of routing. But yeah, like I know how to make mocha bread now. I know how to make choco pie boxes. I might have kind of known how to make choco pie boxes. I'm not actually sure. But if I did, it was kind of random for me to know. Yeah, I'm more familiar with like where bottles are, glass bottles, and I also know that that's what actually builds a health potion from orchids. Know some more about SP items and all that stuff. So I'm just more able to make food and such, basically. Inventory management. I guess I know what foodstuffs are less relevant. Oh yeah, also butter-based stuff. Butter, choco pie, mocha bread, HP potion, etc. Yeah, I know what foodstuffs are less relevant. Yeah, I'm still. Oh wait. Duplicate slash skip bubble components in build. So this is basically just, if I know that I can get something in a later zone, I'm much more aware of things that I can skip in one zone to get into a later zone, or to get from a later zone. Yeah, I'm still having trouble with inventory management, or what to actually say here. Okay. Know that wick is at end of day 2. Oh, really just. So unless I'm completely misremembering this, wick is at basically the end of day 2. It's like 15 seconds prior. Spawns in avenue unless closed. And Tree of Life, I'm still not. Tree TLL still fuzzy on. You're still random. I still don't have any idea what causes meteors to spawn where. I think they're vaguely in the top part of the map, but yeah. Let's see. Vision. Oh yeah. I know dagger skill can be seen through with camera surveillance. I know I didn't spell it right. I'm just gonna say placed cameras, as opposed to the ones that you get from console. Yeah, other than that, I don't think a whole lot's really changed. Oh yeah. I know that you see everyone on mini map at the end of days. Farming. I don't know. Doing it more? I'm not sure if I'm really doing it more or not. More. I wouldn't really say I'm more aware of RNG items because I kind of already knew you get them from bears and stuff. Yeah, I think. I'll actually know some dog / wolf / bear locations that I didn't previously, e.g. some of the uptown ones. I am a little bit more familiar with some bear locations and a bit more. Yeah, so I think that's good. Like, importantly, I know that there's not really dogs and other leather guaranteeing creatures in Chapel, stuff like that. So I guess farming is going to be more like knowledge based and maybe timer based overall. Okay. I know base for many pivot items and how to craft and some of the areas to get them, e.g. cloth armor from AR cemetery or temple plus other equals roll armor, also frag Chinese opera mask. To do Halo. Yeah, the Halo seems like it's a pretty good item, but I just don't really know how to build it or what it builds off out of, like from memory. I think it's something with the circlet, but I'm not really sure. Okay, skip. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's. I'm gonna check my block notes actually. Yeah, I wonder if inventory management isn't really a fundamental in and of itself, but more just kind of the product of some other stuff, right? Because for stuff like looting and routing, something that I've been focusing some on is just freeing up inventory space by knowing when I should grab extra things like branches. But I feel like that's more of a routing thing and less to do with inventory management. I don't know, maybe this would go under some kind of micro type thing. Because I feel like a lot of this has more to do with like game knowledge than anything. Like not holding on to extra alcohol, for example. Going for, ice instead of soju, just because it's quicker and easier. For example, or taking up this extra branch that I'm probably gonna start doing in Uptown, so that I can finish blue chest and finish up, or not finish up, but like free up one slot in my inventory. I kind of wish I took notes for the first 2 blocks, but oh well. Or just like the early dagger build in zone 2, so when I get to Uptown, I can start freeing up inventory as I find components like flour and such. Yeah, that has more to do with routing than I'd say inventory managing fundamentals. Like obviously, I can still work on food stuff, but definitely much more improved than food roulette that I was doing before. Because the only thing I really knew how to make was like steak and fried chicken, and those are not the best. Actually, where is oil? I think there's oil in Avenue. Yeah, fried chicken's a little bit better. It's like 510, but actually, I guess it's just way better. But still, there's like much easier things that are higher value, and not by, I guess not exactly easier, but things that are about as simple, but also kind of less RNG. You don't get meat every time. I guess you don't always find chocolate though. Yeah, so I think that about covers things. Looting, I went from just copying builds and being pretty unable to adapt paths from memory. It's making some of my own builds, getting some heuristics in place for what's kind of considered fast and what's kind of considered slow. Really after, switching up the build and not happening to route in, some wolves, starting to understand the importance of actually routing leather. Because, you can get lucky with chickens and such, but, getting something 100% of the time is definitely preferable. Incorporating, food planning a lot more into routing. Planning the choco pie boxes with the first route, and planning the mocha bread with the second route, in addition to with the health potions and the possibility of butter items later on. With getting the milk, getting branches later, using that with the chocolate from Uptown. Just kind of just being more aware of all that. We're adding a little bit of SP stuff now that I'm having some issues. Being somewhat aware of stuff that I can skip, right? Like, with the first build where I would go through Cemetery, I knew that I could skip Bamboo if I needed to because I could find it in Pond, and I wasn't going to finish the item anyways till I got the Pond. Well, the second build, I'm not super sure on what I can skip actually. Now that I mention it, I'll just like recreate it real quick here. I think this was it. But starting in hospital. Oh, this doesn't actually tell me the components for each zone. Whatever. But yeah, at the very least, like being more aware of that, knowing some extra places I can get things. Like if I don't get the stick thing that I need in Pond, I can go to Dock to try and find that. Same for battery as well. If I don't find bottles, I can also go to Dock. Just some being more aware of some stuff like that. Food, knowing some more stuff by memory, knowing some locations of bread and boxes and coffee and some other things. Inventory management, I think I might end up getting rid of. It's unclear. It's also unclear what I would use as a learning objective for inventory management. Like just opening things faster. I don't know. With looting, I can do things like open a box and then click away immediately and then go back to it if I see what I want, stuff like that. Or just improvements in routing. But inventory management seems a little nebulous. Contesting objectives, I haven't really been doing it, but I at least know when and where I would need to be for Wick, assuming Avenue's not closed. I found out on Scaz's Discord, that dagger skill can be revealed. I still don't actually, to do find out if you can attack or can target or if you can just see them. I don't know if it's like where they are, but they're still untargetable, if that makes sense. So stuff like Kathy Q you couldn't use, but like the W or the ult, since it's AoE, it would still work. I learned that when you can see people on the mini map, and I know a lot of the pivot stuff from memory now. I know I built auto arms one time in a game, but I have no idea what the actual base is. I just know it's something arm related. But I would be able to build Mithril armor. I would be able to build frag. Like I know I can get dagger from like Templar Dock, and I think Hotel is the third place you can find daggers, and then just like that plus twig plus 4 score. And then the Halo I'm still not sure on, but like Chinese Opera Mask is what is Chinese Opera Mask? I know that there's I say that I know it, but see, let's just go to this generator thing. I think it's like the headband thing. I'll just open Kathy. I think it's like a headband thing plus leather plus the VF blood sample. Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh wait, no, it's feather. It's feather. Okay. Oh right. Yeah, and that's why I was going on about how if I did build it, that would mean that my build required 4 feathers in total, which seems like quite a bit. So I'm gonna I'm gonna say Chinese Opera Mask, not so much forgot the feather. But yeah, at some point I did know. And I at least know that it's, this hairband thing, I can get that from Temple. I don't really know where else. I guess Avenue Cemetery. Um, yeah, at some point, I just learned that basically all the RNG items you can find the components for in Chapel or Temple. I mean, actually, I wonder if Halo. Oh yeah, you also find this in Temple. Um, I'm not counting Cabana. Frag Rack. You find this dagger in Temple. Okay, so yeah, it was Hotel. What about Auto Arms? Auto Arms is Bandage. Yeah, you don't find that in Temple, but like 3 out of 4 or however many it was, or 4 out of 5. Yeah, it's something like that. It's a ridiculous number of things that you can just find stuff for in Temple. Um, okay. Oh, I wonder if it would be good, like as I'm taking notes for blocks, or maybe after I've taken all the notes for a block, to go in and kind of compare things. It might be better to just do once a week instead. It might get a little tedious, and then I might get too focused on just adding things to a checkpoint rather than what seems more relevant here. I am kind of thinking I should get rid of inventory management. It's I just feel more and more like it's just the result of all these other things, like knowing what food I can actually build, knowing what food I'm planning on building on the route, um, knowing how much access I have to like cameras and binoculars, stuff like that, farming, knowing which pivot items I want. Uh, the only real micro stuff is just dropping something really quick, picking it back up, and just knowing that if you do like control right click, you can drop one of something, or it's either control right click or control left click. Uh, yeah, just dropping and picking stuff up, I guess. There's some decision making about what you can afford to drop, but and maybe doing this quickly, or figuring that out quickly would be inventory management, but I'm not sure how you really turn that into a learning objective. Um, it can't just be like drop items quicker, especially because it, that type of decision making is not the type of thing that necessarily comes up every game either, or that could necessarily come up every game unless I'm just picking up a lot of stuff. I don't know. I might need to more rigorously define what I'm calling a fundamental. And I think it's something along the lines of, fundamentals should be things that come up literally every game and are inherent to playing the game at like a high skill level, maybe. And like obviously looting and routing is pretty important. Having crafting, knowing food is pretty important. Getting any kind of vision, pretty important. Contesting objectives, not as much, I guess, but like being aware of them is still important to some extent. Like knowing who has wick is good. That's kind of if the game's probably not going to end by night too. It's probably still relevant. Being aware of the map is important, right? Noticing that there's pings on the map. Farming is, I guess, not something you necessarily do every game, but probably something you want to be doing every game, right? Because it's just mastery, it's extra resources, it's denying resources on other people. Pivot items, I guess, is also something that wouldn't come up necessarily every game, but should be coming up every game that you get far into, I guess. And skill shot accuracy, obviously a good thing to work on, although I'm not sure how you'd measure it. Maybe it's not too suitable for checkpoints. I think measuring success on skill shot accuracy kind of assumes a static level of opponent's skill to like dodge things. I don't know. I think I'd still consider this like a fundamental, or maybe like survivor mastery would be something that this falls under. And then traps. Traps are something that could be relevant every game, but are kind of optional. Yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of weird not putting it here because it's like a core part of the game if you want it to be, but maybe it's just like not fundamental to the game. I might just need to separate things out a little bit to like fundamentals and then just other skills that are also good but not kind of inherent to the game. Hmm. Okay, well, I think that's probably enough of me going over this. Um, I think it might be interesting to see how this changes over time. Might also be interesting to look back at, like later on, like way in the future. Just see what kind of state I'm in without having to to watch hours and hours and hours of VODs. Um, if you made it all the way through here, thank you for sticking by, and I hope you will continue watching my adventure. Thank you.